Bechoros Daf Nun Zayin, Rabbi Yochanan says his concept of Ein Breira in two different places. Ein Breira would mean that when brothers divide an inheritance, Yesh Breira means that after they divided it, it's retroactively understood that that's exactly what the father inherited to them, each one their share. Ein Breira means no. The brothers divided it, it's as if each brother bought off the other person's share, and if they redistribute everything and become partners, then they're real partners, they are shutfim. He said this halacha when it comes in our sugya to Meiser Behema, and he said this halacha by a field on Yovel. In our sugya by Meiser Behema, if the brothers, we say Ein Breira, so if they redistribute, they become partners, and partners are pater from Meiser Behema. He said the halacha also by a field. If they divided a field and then Yovel came, they have to redo the entire division and Yerusha, because Ein Breira, and they are more like as if they bought off from one another, and if you buy a field from somebody else, by Yovel, you have to give it back and redistribute. Why do Rabbi Yochanan have to say this halacha in two different places? Says the Gemara, because if he only said it by us by Meiser Behema, I'll think only by Meiser Behema there's the concept of Ein Breira. Because Meiser Behema, as we said yesterday, is similar to a Bechar. And a Bechar, the father knows for certain 100% that this is his child. Meiser Behema would have to be the same thing. You would have to know for certain. And if you say Ein Breira, then there's no certainty. If he said it only by a field, I would think perhaps Rabbi Yochanan himself doesn't hold Ein Breira. Maybe he holds Yesh Breira, but he's just not sure. Maybe Ein Breira, Yesh Breira, so therefore he said by a field, let's do the Chumrah. But that Chumrah wouldn't apply by Meiser Behema, because in fact, if you say Ein Breira, then what you're creating here in our sugya is a partnership, and a partnership is pater for Meiser. So it's actually a kula, not a Chumrah. Or, if we said it only by a field, I would think that the Torah said a special halacha by a field to return, not because of Ein Breira, just as a halacha by a field, but by Behema it wouldn't apply. The Gemara asks a question on the other mandama. The other mandama says Yesh Breira. Look at this case, as you see here. Ruvain got 10 sheep for his share of the Yerusha. Shimon got 9 sheep and a dog. The halacha is that a dog you cannot trade for a sheep if you want to be makar of the sheep. It's called mechir kelev. Anything you trade for a dog cannot go on the mizbeach. Says the Gemara that all 10 sheep of Reuven cannot go on the Mizbeach. The question is why? Yesh Breira. I'll say one sheep is for one dog. So 9 sheep you can put on the Mizbeach. And the answer is because the dog actually costs more money than the sheep. So for instance, if a dog costs 120, so then you have to say that each sheep of Reuven's is worth 102. So that means that each sheep got $2 worth of the dog in it. And that's why all 10 sheep are also because of that little amount of value that that each sheep has because of the dog. Says the Mishnah that everything, all animals go into the pen for Meiser, Behema. That is, even a Balmum, because the Torah says, Lo yivaka bin tov l'ra, a Balmum, you take Meiser. And if a Balmum goes into the pen, then anything that has to do with Arayas and Avodah Zarah also goes into the pen, because there's a Hekesh, it says, Moshchasam, anything that has to do with Hashchasa, Avodah Zarah, and Arayis is like a Balmum and goes into the pen. So that would mean a Reveya and a Nirva, anything that has to do with bestiality, Muktzah, if somebody set aside an animal for Avodah Zarah, Nevad, if they actually did Avodah Zarah to an animal, and Esnan, it's an animal that was paid to a Zaina for her services. Mechir Kelev, this dog that we discussed moments ago, is a Hekesh to Esnan, and that's why it goes into the pen as Meiser. Besides, Klaim, if a goat and a sheep had offspring, that does not go into the pen. If 2 goats had a fetus that looked like a sheep, that's called Nidma, and that also doesn't go into the pen. Yotzedayf and Caesarean doesn't go into the pen. Mechusar Zman, meaning an animal that's less than 8 days old, doesn't go into the pen, and a Yasam, an animal that its mother died before birth. Rabbi Shua says that if the skin of the mother is still around, then the Yasam does go into the pen. What's the svar? The Gemara explains, because the skin protects the animal, the warmth of the mother is still there. It's as if he has a mother. Not considered Yasam. Reb Shimon says that a Yotzedayf and a Caesarean is considered a complete birth when it comes to Kachim, so therefore by Meiser also give Meiser. And as we had yesterday, Mechus Zman, also according to Reb Shimon ben Yehuda, is considered an animal that you give Meiser for. Tumtum and Androgenos is Machlekes. If you hold Tumtum and Androgenos as a suffix, so Memanav Shachar should go into the pen. If it's a Zachar, it goes into the pen. If it's a Nekeva, it goes into the pen. But if you hold that a Tumtum and Androgynos is a Bria B'fnei Atzma, it's its own species, then it doesn't go into the pen. The Gemara brings 4 testimonies from Rabbi Shmuel ben Sisriel. He says that, first of all, if the skin, the hide of the mother is around, then the animal is not considered a yasam, as we explained before. It's as if the mother is still around. And then he says 3 agadatas that the Mashal says are very deep, have different meaning. It's not the simple meaning of how we understand. He said that he saw a lettuce that has 600,000 leaves. He saw a cedar tree that fell and it was so wide that at the top point of it, there were 16 wagons that were able to travel on it. And then he saw the egg of Bar Yuchni. It was an egg that wasn't viable, because otherwise the Bar Yuchni takes very good care of its egg, that it cracked open, and just from the liquid of the egg, 60 cities drowned and 300 cedar trees were destroyed. Says the Mishnah. And we're going to elaborate in this Mishnah much more tomorrow. But the basic concept of the Mishnah is that Chachamim were mesaken 3 granos, 3 periods of time that you take Meiser Behema, which correspond to the 3 times that animals give birth during the year. Before the Gairin, you're allowed to sell and shecht an animal without Meiser, but people don't want to sell because they would rather that a mitzvah is done with their property. And they were mesaken that these granos should be right before Yontev, in order that Klai Yisrael who come to do Aliyah Regel on Yontev, they should have ample amount of animals. If 5 animals were born before the Gairin and 5 after the Gairin, they can combine for Meiser, but if 5 were born in 1 year and 5 in the next calendar year, they are not mitzdaref and have a wonderful day.